Hello, this is making a simple motion tween. We're going to go through the step-by-steps as stated on the file on D2L. As I mentioned in the Animate Basics video, I'm going to be sort of dictating or reading what I have written on those step-by-step exercises. Again, the reason being is that I want you to sort of be doing the same steps that text document outlines. This is one of the most simple things Animate can do. You're going to have to make a ton of what's called motion tweens throughout the semester, and we're going to do the simplest of them all. Okay. The idea behind a tween, and the reason it's called a tween, is that Animate creates for us, and it's very efficient, what's called in-between frames. We're going to state that something is happening right here in frame one, and then up here somewhere, we're going to sort of position things, and then it's going to make up the frames in between. Okay, as I stated before, this is the timeline. This is where things are going to happen. So I'm going to just head right into the step-by-step, and along the way I'll probably stop and have a tangent here and there to explain a few things. So first and foremost, it says open Animate, and when Animate opens it will give you a screen. That's the only thing we're not going to see here. You'll see a screen that asks you what sort of file you want to make. If you already have it open, you simply are going to go to File, New, and create an ActionScript 3.0 file. ActionScript 3.0 is the programming language that Animate uses, and we're going to get into that later. HTML5 has to do with things that are potentially going to go on the internet. What it will do is generate HTML. HTML is the language that web browsers read. And it will generate that so you can sort of see something on the web. We'll do some of that as well later. Okay, so I'm going to do an ActionScript 3.0 file, and I'm going to leave these defaults. We can sort of change the height and the width of the document, but we're going to keep that as is. Okay, so you have a white background here. We're going to sort of keep that as is. Now, I'm at step 4, so we have a new document, and you either got there via that welcome screen or the file new. And it says at the top where there are various menu items, choose Insert New Symbol. So I'm going to go to Insert New Symbol. Okay. And we're going to name this symbol. I'm on step 5, green ball. So I'm going to double click on that. Oops. And step 6, it says make sure the drop-down menu is set to a graphic. Later in the semester, we're going to deal with buttons and movie clips. These are more complicated. For now, we're just making sure that's a graphic. This is the simplest symbol within Animate. Now, in this step 7, it says you will leave the stage at this point and enter the library where you will create this graphic. What I want you to notice when I click OK here is how this background is going to change. It's basically going to turn into a giant white area, and you have to be very careful that you sort of know where you are. Know that you're not in the scene. Know that you are in the library. Okay, so I'm going to hit OK, and you'll sort of see what happens. Okay, I have this big screen now. I also see green ball at the top left here, and I'm going to click this Libraries tab, and this is sort of our sketch pad. This is sort of where we're making stuff. Okay, I'm inside green ball. I have not drawn a green ball yet, but I will here in a second. Okay, so that's why it says you will leave the stage at this point and enter the library where the graphic will be created. Okay, this is where we're going to make our stuff. So it says click on the stroke color box and choose the white box with the red stripe through it, no stroke color. Click the fill color at the bottom to choose a shade of green. I'm going to actually quickly pause the video because I need to change the layout of this screen so I can show you this. I mentioned this in the Animate Basics video that sometimes we can't see everything down here. So hold on one second. Okay, what I've done is actually detached my tools menu item or my tools window so that we can see everything. Again, this is not something you have to do at all. It's just so I can fit everything in the screen. So down at the bottom, and yours will sort of be at the very bottom, we're looking to change this what's called stroke and fill color. A object or anything we draw has a stroke and fill color. Okay, and those are sort of indicated by these two things right here. Okay, these two colors. Yours will sort of look slightly different, and again, this is the only problem that is going to sort of happen because of the video recording software. But I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to choose no stroke color. Okay, yours is going to be next to this little pencil. The fill color is next to this little tiny paint bucket. Okay, and step 8 says click on the stroke color box and choose the white box with the red stripe through it. I did that. That should look like that. It says click on the fill color box and choose a shade of green. Okay, now what's going to happen here is when we draw this, we're not going to end up with a stroke color. A stroke color is often something that is just sort of around your object. I'll sort of show you briefly. See how we have a green ball there with the black stroke. Often we just want sort of a singular thing. So I'm going to back out of there. So we want no stroke color. Okay, and I have my shade of green. It says choose the oval tool in the toolbox, and it says click and draw a circle. You can make a perfect circle by holding down Shift on your keyboard. That's what I want you to do. So I'm going to draw about yay big. I'm going to go back to my what's called black selection, or just the selection arrow here. You'll note that as we sort of move through tools, you'll see there it sort of pops up. These things kind of introduce themselves. So we have free transform, we have the pen tool, and we have the selection tool. The selection tool is what you use to sort of click on things and move it around. You'll notice there's a little center hash mark. You want to get into the habit of placing stuff kind of on that hash mark. Okay, I can actually use, and you'll see it moving, I can use the arrows on my keyboard to move that around. This will become important later. Okay, so step 11, it says use the selection tool, the black arrow, and position in the center. We did that. Okay, next part it says is part 2, creating the tween. Remember, we're in the library here, and we're going to hop over to the actual scene. Okay, so I can see I'm in Greenball right here, and I'm going to hop over to my scene. So first step of part 2 says click on scene 1 in the top left. We mean right here. Okay, and what I'm going to do is move this. Okay, I'm going to keep my toolbox there so you can see everything. It says take the graphic from the library called Greenball and drop it on, onto the stage in the bottom left. Now you'll note, and make sure you're not on properties, make sure you're on library, we now have this symbol over in our library. The idea with Animate is that we can sort of make something and we can use it a million different times. Okay, we might use this green ball later in our movie, and so it's just sort of sitting over here in the library waiting to sort of come into the action here. So it says take the graphic from the library called Greenball and drop it down on the stage bottom left. So I'm going to click, hold, and bring this guy over. You'll see the sort of plus sign there. It's sort of saying I've got it, and I'm going to position that in the bottom left. Okay. So a couple things to note here. One is when I drop that in there, we got what's called a keyframe. I want everyone to look right here. This sort of black dot represents a keyframe. The idea with a keyframe is very, very important. It sort of states that in this moment of time, this is where this thing is. Okay, this comes from a very traditional idea in animation. If you look back in sort of what Disney movies, the keyframes were areas or parts in a movie where, say, Daffy Duck or Mickey Mouse was sort of sitting still for a while. Those were drawn by the most important animators. The in-between frames, and they were called cells, were drawn by people that weren't supposedly as good. And the idea was you weren't seeing that for as long, and so it didn't matter that it was sort of drawn by the best of Disney's artists. Okay, so we made a keyframe here. We stated that at this moment in time, this is where this green ball is. Okay. Now, it says move up to frame 60 in the timeline and click on that frame. So I'm going to go up to frame 60 and I'm going to click on it. I'm selecting that frame. I'm saying I'm getting ready to do something in there. Now it says choose insert timeline frame. So I'm going to go to insert timeline frame. Okay. All I've done is I've extended, and now we can move the playhead back and forth. I've extended the length of our movie 60 frames. Nothing is happening in those 60 frames, but it is now 60 frames long. Okay. Next thing we want to do is actually make this thing move. So this is our first animation. So I am looking at step 5. It says choose any frame between 1 and 60. So I'm just going to click on the middle. And then it says choose insert motion tween. Now watch what happens in the timeline. It turns blue. Okay. That is a visual indication that we have a motion tween. A motion tween is a series of frames that sort of illustrates or gets us an animation. Okay. So let's look back at our directions here. It says click directly on frame 60. I'm going to do that. With the selection, the black arrow, grab the green ball and move it up to the top right. And I want you to watch what happens up in the timeline. Okay. A couple things. I'm going to click on this. We get another, this is called a tween frame, or it's sort of similar to a keyframe, but you'll see a little diamond there. You'll also see the path of our animation. Okay, this is sort of another visual indication that this thing is sort of moving from top left to top right. Okay, now let's take a look and make sure this thing works. Before we do that, we want to save this. So I'm going to go to File, Save As. And I'm on a Mac, so I'm going to open this up. If you're on a PC, you might this might look slightly different. It's taking a second. You're going to name this thing your first name, last name, and underscore motion tween. So mine will look like this. David, oops, underscore motion tween. And I'm going to go to my animation folder where my animation stuff lives. And I want to sort of describe a few things here. One has to do with what type of file we're using here. Okay, even though the sort of name of this program changed from Flash to Animate, it's still sort of retaining its sort of naming convention, which is .fla. That stands for Flash, and we never want to type that in. It's just like you never type in, your Word document. You don't type .doc. We're just going to leave that as FLA, and we're going to name it David Luke. You're going to name yours, your first name and last name, underscore motion tween. Okay, and I'm going to hit save. Okay, you'll see that the name is sort of reflected on our tab here. Now we want to sort of test this and see what happens. So I'm going to go to Control, Test Movie in Animate. Okay, it's going to create what's called a SWIF. The SWIFs are the files that you hand in. I can't say this enough. Please don't ever, unless I'm sort of fixing a problem of yours, give me an FLA file. These SWIF files are sort of the exported version. They're the version that we can sort of watch the movie in. A couple things about this movie, and you may note this. Flash just or Animate wants to go, go, go. So there's no stopping. As soon as it gets to the end of the movie, it starts it again. Later, we're going to get into your ability to stop the movie and have some choices. But for now, these things just go, go, go. Okay. Now, we are up to step 13. So we've tested this and it seems to work. This next step is something you're just going to have to do. It says once you have tested your file and know that green ball works, create a similar animation with a new symbol called red ball and animate that symbol from bottom right to top left. And it says see video. So I'm going to stop this briefly and sort of make mine. All right, I've made a red ball over here in the library. I'm going to double click on it. You'll see it's just like green ball. I'm going to go back to my scene. Step 14 is telling you to create a new layer. Just an aside here, the videos are max out at 15 minutes, so I'm going to stop right here and you're going to go into making a simple motion tween part 2, which will only be a couple minutes. So we'll see you there.